All right. Welcome to the 9th episode of 23 Real, 20 minutes of real talk with real producers in real estate, brought to you by Ohio Real Title and hosted by me, Rick Capretta. Today's guest just celebrated his 25th year in service as a coach and trainer and speaker for the Darryl Turner Corporation. Their company has trained or coached over 6,000 salespeople, and they've strategically supported over 2,600 real estate and mortgage-related companies. And even better, Darryl's actually my coach at Ohio Real Title, and we've been friends now for a few years since I've known him. We both share bum shoulders together, so we have much to talk about on all of our teams. So I'd love to welcome you guys, Darryl Turner of Darryl Turner Corporation.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me today.
How are you?
I'm good, except my shoulders are good. It's my
the biceps.
So between the two of us, we maybe one set of good parts.
Yeah, I forgot to even ask you how getting the boats in and all the jet skis, how the arms have been holding up this year.
I'm cautious. I'm very cautious. Yeah,
I bet. Well, yeah, Darryl's been a big help for me. I know he's been a help for my sister, and he's been a help for really all of us here at Ohio Real Title. But how long have you actually worked with Ohio Real Title, Darryl?
Since November of 2000. You want to guess? 2000 and
I don't know.
You're not guessing well, so I'm just going to tell you. So
okay.
we've been together for coming up on 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
9 years. That's not bad. That's a pretty good chunk of the 25 years that Darryl's company's been in service now. They just celebrated that on September 15th. I'm sorry, September of 2019 here. So they just celebrated that a few months back. So 25 years, not too bad in probably not the easiest industry to really make a big crack at.
Well, it was a lot of fun along the way, and it was a lot of work, Rick. It's starting this thing off back in the day. It was a challenge as starting any business, but we just, stuck with it. And if you stick with anything long enough, you'll win.
Yeah, no, and you're doing a great job at it. So Darryl's wife, Raquel, joined him. What year was that?
2012.
2012. And she's one of 6 coaches that you are on the staff. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's my head coach. She's my coach, and she's the president of the coaching division now.
Excellent. And we can all wish her a happy birthday. It was her birthday yesterday. 29th birthday again. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, 29, actually. She's probably listening. She's probably listening. So
good.
29.
Good. Yeah, I could check up in the comments here and see what's going on. Oh no, it's just Janelle in there. So, anyways, tell me a little bit more about the company. Tell me where these 6 coaches came from. If they're basically born of you, or they came to you, or how that worked out.
Well, really interesting. About half our team's been with the group for over 20 years.
Wow.
So some of them started when the company was, 3-4 years old. And over the years, they get extremely good at helping people and coaching. And then, some came from companies we've worked with in the past. We have really strict guidelines of hiring people from our clients. We don't do it, but somewhere down the road, people come back around, and people who were really successful following our plan. So, in fact, that's where Raquel came from. She worked for a title company for a number of years and crushed it, and retired from the title business at a little more than 70% market share.
Wow.
So she more than doubled her market share doing exactly what we help people do now. That's why she is my head coach.
That's awesome.
My head coach. I don't mean the head coach in the company only. My coach.
Yeah, no, I believe it. We all hope to retire from the title and escrow industry at some point. Just don't know when that's going to happen. One thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. So Darryl was kind of the inspiration for me to finally get off my rear end and do some sort of show. We had talked about a podcast for maybe a year, 6 months to a year, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. But hey, who knew that it would just take a pandemic to do that? So there we go. Thanks, pandemic, and thanks, Darryl.
You have your own TV show now.
There you go. A TV show that is not televised and no one watches. I say I'm on public access television after Wayne's World, so it's perfect.
Right.
Anyway, so we know people aren't born into coaching. I like to think so that I am for baseball, but that's obviously just in my own mind. But, between the consulting and the speaking, you've obviously been doing this for a while. So kind of share your background about how you went from just being Darryl, a sales guy, to Darryl Turner, the title and real estate coach.
Yeah, sure. It's well, I take you back 27, 28, 29 years ago. I was in an entirely different industry before I started doing this, but I found myself kind of moving up in the company and ended up being the regional general manager of the group. But I was doing this all along, Rick. I didn't really realize that the reason that my sales team, thrived is I coached them on process and I did a lot of speaking for the company. Again, entirely different industry. They would have me come and do the leadership events and things like that. And I had one of the other people that was equal to me in the company when I was done one time come up and said, you can do this as a job. And I thought, this is really fun. So
yeah,
of course, and when you first go into anything, you really don't realize how big it's going to be or what it's going to take to make it, right? And so 7 months, 17 days to break even. I timed it, right? Kept track. 7 months, 17 days. Our little company back in '94 broke even. But how I got into this part of the business, how I got into the title side and the real estate side, that's where the story is. I was doing general sales seminars, and we limited our audience to anybody that was willing to write a check. And I had some people from a title company come, some executives come, some of their salespeople, and they called me and had me come over and meet with them and do some speaking for them in California. And what made it really fun was when they called back and wanted some regular training. At that time, we were working with lots of different industries, and I didn't know the title business, just like anybody that first gets into it. And I said, well, I'll do it, but I have to be able to ride with your salespeople and make sales calls. Back in the day when you could actually go out and see realtors and lenders in their offices and present and all that.
Yep.
And so I made more sales calls with title reps than many title reps made during that period of time. And so now we've up to today about 70,000 ride-along sales calls, something like that, 75,000, 80,000 coaching sessions with realtors, lenders, title salespeople, and executives. And it just built and built. I spoke at the National Title Marketing Conference in 1997, and that's when our company went nationwide.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that it went where it did? I mean, and title's such a specific path, which, like you said, you really didn't know anything about. And here you are, like a pharmaceutical rep, or like the old title reps, being able to walk in and get FaceTime all the time. So that obviously a different world. So we're probably not going to get too much into what a different world it's become here as title reps, but how did that then spin into doing some of the realtor presentations just by your title companies asking for some of that support?
Yeah, actually, that's exactly how it happened. They would ask me to speak at various events, because of course it's super common for title companies to do CE programs and things like that. And I started doing it. And what ended up happening was I started getting asked to coach some agents for some of the companies back in the day, pre-RESPA, all those guidelines that kind of limit certain things like that. And so in order to fully understand and really get into that, in the late 90s, our team interviewed a little more than 14,000 successful agents in a year, and discovered what they're doing that works, what they're doing that doesn't work, and began to work closely with them. And that's kind of how the whole real estate side of it took off. It's it's interesting that by talking to that many people, 14,000 is a lot of people we talk to. And it's really easy to figure out where the industry needs the most help. And since then, I couldn't begin to count the real estate events that I've spoken at, or the number of agents and brokers that I've worked directly with. It's got to be in the tens of thousands at this point.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know, at least since I've been here, I know you've been up and done maybe a couple, 2, 3 probably in the area for the real estate agents since I've been around. And I know they always walk away loving it. So that's great.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into that then. So being in the times we're in, I feel like being on all these Zoom calls with all these different offices, Zoom fatigue. Of course, a lot of people are having Zoom fatigue, but I'm also seeing a lot of down faces. People don't even have answers to questions. I don't know what they're losing. Is it their motivation? Is it their home responsibilities? Is it, the kids driving them nuts? I don't know what it is, but why don't you give the real estate agents that are listening a game plan of kind of how to navigate through these times and then come out ahead of the competition when this is all done?
Absolutely. I think, Rick, what it really boils down to is what people are actually waiting for. It's you mentioned, you're not really sure what they've lost. And I'm a believer that they really haven't lost, any of them that are struggling haven't lost anything. They've given stuff up. And it's a decision. How many times have you heard somebody say, we're going to survive this together, right? Dozens of times, not hundreds of times. But anybody that set survival as a goal is automatically going to lose. We need to thrive through this together, right? Because, I really like my life, and I know you really like your life. But if I was told today that my life's never going to be any better than it is right now, it'd be very depressing, right? Same for you. So, and people that are trying to survive through this, that's what they're doing. They're saying it's never going to, be better than whatever, and they lose their hope. We need to set a higher goal and thrive through this time, because it's really interesting. We see agents all the time. I did a Zoom interview not too long ago with a local high producing agent here in my actual neighborhood. Mike Ferry and I are friends, and I did a Zoom meeting with him. It's on our Facebook page, probably about a month ago, I guess, something like that. We really talked about what people need to be doing right now. And here's what it boils down to. If you were told today that this is the way it's going to be moving forward forever, which would be a very bad thing to hear, but
weird
that this is the way it's going to be, the question we have to ask ourselves is, then what would we need to do starting right now? And whatever the answer is what we need to do starting right now, right? Because too many people are waiting for something to go back to what it was. And the people that are truly winning right now have accepted the fact that today it is like it is today. And my game has to change. It really boils down to people that are there's really, let me just say this, in all my experience, particularly during this pandemic issue, one of the things that I've noticed is there's really the class or the category of performance is really split. There are agents that have decided and teams that have decided to really put the grind on, right? And they're working hard, and they're changing their game, and they're maintaining relevance, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then there's those who are hiding under a rock, waiting for something to go back to the way it was. And anytime we wait for yesterday, we're going to be depressed. Okay. And really it's broken down just like that. My advice to the people watching your audience, Rick, is to not look at how can we get back to where we were. Look at what do I need to do starting now to really maintain a high level of success in the business, because people are still buying and selling houses right now. It's
absolutely
inventory.
Crazy.
Yeah, inventory is low. The demand is super high. I mean, you find a good house on the market, it's gone in 2 days. So we need to accept the fact that the opportunity is present, but it looks different. And every crisis creates an opportunity. And as those not willing to change, like this right here. Did you ever have one of these right here? You ever have one of these?
Yeah.
If you want good reception, you got to lift the antenna up.
Yeah, right.
How about one of these? Did you ever have one of these?
No.
Okay, then you weren't totally cool. Right?
I was totally too young, Darryl.
Nobody runs around anymore. Nobody has these. We all have these right now. Right. We all have iPhones. But if we still did this, we would look ridiculous, and that's what we look like when we don't change, right? And so that's really what needs to happen. And in fact, I made a couple notes I wanted to share with your audience here. Is my recommendation for everyone is to remain relevant. I know I mentioned that a minute ago, right? Because value is based on relevance, all right? But relevance is dynamic right now. The how we deliver value to our customers and prospects looks different today than it did 2 months ago, or 2.5 months ago now, I guess. And it looks different now than it's going to in 2 months from now, right? And so one of the things we have to remember is that if to maintain relevance, or to maintain a relevant position, it's the only way we're going to deliver value. And value, Rick, is determined by the size of the problems we solve for others, for customers and prospects, right? And Absolutely. Right now, here's a great opportunity for agents around the country to provide more value now than they ever dreamed imaginable. Because if value is determined by the size of the problems we solve for customers, the agents, customers, and prospects have giant problems right now.
Right.
So giant problem creates giant opportunity to be of value, right? So, and if we're a value, we're relevant, and those are the people that are going to be thriving or are thriving right now in real estate. So, that's really the key. Go to work, do your discovery, find out what people need, what are their issues, what are their problems, and solve them for them. And you'll win.
I agree. It as you were talking, all I could think of was Who Moved My Cheese? And it's kind of like people might need to go back and reread that book, which is now probably what, 20, 30 years old, something like that. Yeah. And it never really loses its relevance because guess what? The ball's moving, man. You got to be moving with the ball here because either do that or you're not going to survive. So stay relevant and provide value, folks. That's going to keep you going forward. So that's awesome. That's great stuff for the agents that are listening. But I've also have some friends that want to also get into the field you're in, maybe not necessarily on the title and real estate side, but they want to become coaches and they want to make their presence known in the speaking world. So if you had a minute to talk about what would you suggest to those people to kind of get their career off the ground in that world?
Oh yeah, great question. There's a lot of people that would love to fall on this side of the fence. And one of the things I'll tell them is get ready to do a lot of it for free for a while. They're going to need a lot of experience in the areas that they want to work in. I recommend if you want to be a coach in business, find a vertical market because you can become an expert in a vertical market. You're in one particular category or an industry like what we did when we started by delving into the title insurance industry. We've worked with over 1,000 title companies, which isn't relevant to the audience necessarily, but between that and the real estate mortgage, that's a lot of different companies. But we're still in the same industry, right? And that allows us to early on to really learn it well. And on the speaking side, you just have to practice it and there's a lot of, I heard Zig Ziglar say this one time when I first started this business, and I thought, how could this possibly be? He mentioned, and I don't remember what the number was, but how many times he spoke for free before he got his first dollar for speaking, right? And of course, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best speakers that ever lived. I did the same thing. I did a lot of free talks when I was first starting off. That's how you get your exposure. But in order to coach, you have to really have a process or a plan to follow, okay? And not just for your customers or clients, but for you as a coach. How do you stay relevant? It's the same thing, right? Same thing we were talking about a minute ago. But I would recommend that if somebody really wanted to get into this, that they're going to tap into their to the logical side of their brain along with the emotional side. It's a mix. It's kind of like being able to take a carburetor apart and put it back together. And some of you don't know what a carburetor is. You maybe ask your parents, but and coaching is that way. We have to be able to stand back and see how the pieces of the puzzle go together, because otherwise you can't recognize when one of the pieces is missing. Okay. And in order to do that, there's a lot of discovery and investigation. Another reason why I think it would be really wise for your friends that have mentioned this to you to pick an industry and become an expert in that field, in that industry. Learn their language, learn what makes it tick. And the more people that they work with for free in the beginning, because that's right, the more easily they see the holes that they can, fill in the gaps. Look at it like every good athlete, every good golfer. I pick golf over football because obviously football has a coach, but every good golfer has a coach too, and that coach may not be able to play golf nearly as well as the person they're coaching, but they can stand back and look at the mechanical aspects of what needs to take place and advise. That second set of eyes is a really good idea. I mean, when I said Raquel's my coach, I mean, I go to her with a lot of questions, and she can balance me out and fill that void, I guess, between these two ears and help me to see things. And that's what a good coach can do. And so my personal opinion is everybody needs a coach, and everybody should be a version of a coach for somebody else.
I agree. That's great. And sadly, we're getting close to our 20 minutes because I feel like this could be much longer, but I know you also have other things to do other than just stay on this all day. And it is a 20-minute show. So I'm going to wrap it up with one final question. And so far, this has been gold. So really appreciate it. But one thing, if you could leave the listeners one thing that you'd want them to take away from our discussion here today, what would that be?
Well, I actually thought about that because I know for your audience, it's fair to let them know that you send me these questions in advance. So we do a little bit so I can wrap my brain fully around it. But Rick, I'm a believer that the future is what we need to be looking toward right now. And the future belongs to those who are bold enough to create it. So my nugget to leave the audience with today is go to work, be active, think about what you want out of your career, what you want for your family, what you want out of your business. Set that goal and work. You know, don't wait for something to change. Be bold enough to create your future, because it will be whatever you make it, right? And my future will be whatever I make it. So I can hide under a rock. I'm not going to have a good future, or I can decide that I'm bold enough to create the future that I want. And that's what I would really recommend that people think about today.
And that's perfect. Grab the bull by the horns, because guess what, folks? You're getting left in the dust, and go make your own future. That's some good words, Darryl. So look, thanks again, Darryl Turner with Darryl Turner Corporation. You can see some of his social media down below here. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find him out on LinkedIn. You can find him anywhere. Darryl also has a podcast, which I'm going to tell him he's got to start throwing a couple more out there too, but that's also been very helpful. And Darryl, where can they find your videos too? I know you have some videos that sometimes we're able to watch.
Well, you know, they get posted to my Facebook page. I have one right now entitled Better or Bitter. It's on perspective of, you know, finding the silver lining in what's going on right now. I have another one entitled Two Lists. I don't know if you saw that, on how to deal with fear. It's on my Facebook page. And if anybody needs anything, they can email me directly. I don't know if it's up there, but it's info@darrylturner.com. Happy to help them, or reach out to Rick, superstar coach Rick Capretta, and he can obtain any of our resources as well for you.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you again for your time. And everyone, Darryl Turner Corporation. You have a good one, bud.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Darryl.